Madelyne Pryor may be a clone of Jean Grey, but the truth is that the character has already proven herself to be someone completely different from the X-Men. In X-Men '97, only a fraction of the villain's story was told, making it necessary to explain all the relevant twists present in her introduction arc. Next, find out everything about the character from the X-Men comics. Subscribe to the channel and like the video for more content like this. Take the opportunity to suggest the theme for the next video below in the comments. First appearance in the comics. Created by Chris Claremont and Paul Smith, Madelyne Pryor first appeared in Marvel in 1983, with Uncanny X-Men number 168. In it, the character was introduced as a pilot for North Star Airways, a company controlled by Scott Summers' grandparents. At that time, Scott, better known as Cyclops, had left the X-Men after the death of Jean Grey. When he arrived in Alaska to visit his grandparents, Scott was shocked by the resemblance between Madelyne and Jean, coming to believe that the Phoenix had resurrected his old love. For a long time, the character's real identity was unknown, since the only memory she had about her past was a plane crash. According to Madelyne, at the time, she was the only survivor of a plane crash that occurred on the same day that Jean died. The birth of Nathaniel Summers. Claremont's goal with introducing Madelyne into the X-Men comics was to ensure a happy ending for Scott Summers. In this way, the couple ended up getting married. Scott retired from the X-Men and the two had a son, Nathaniel Summers. Despite his duties as a father, Scott did not remain present, constantly participating in missions alongside the mutants. This caused friction between the mutant and Madelyne, which was overcome despite some challenges. However, Jean Grey was resurrected, which made Scott completely abandon his wife and son. Madelyne and Mr. Sinister. Even abandoned, Madelyne still captured the attention of villains like Mr. Sinister. On a trip to San Francisco, the Executioners, a group of mutants hired by Mr. Sinister, kidnapped Nathaniel and almost killed her. Fortunately, Madelyne, alongside the X-Men, managed to save the boy. However, during this mission, Madelyne would see something that would break her heart: Scott and Jean as a couple. In a state of rage, Madelyne was knocked out. Fainting, the woman found herself in a meeting with Sim, a demon from Limbo who offered her a deal. The entity would give her the powers necessary to take revenge on Scott and Jean, as long as she unleashes hell on Earth. Who is the Goblin Queen? With her psychic powers fully unleashed and a newly acquired knowledge of magic, Madelyne Pryor became the Goblin Queen. In a confrontation with Mr. Sinister, the mutant discovered her true origin. According to the villain, Madelyne is a clone of Jean created by Sinister himself. However, her life was only gained when Jean died. Apparently, on the day of the telepath's death, a fragment of the Phoenix Force entered Madelyne's body, giving her life. Afterwards, Sinister orchestrated a meeting between Madelyne and Scott, resulting in Nathaniel's conception. Sinister's ultimate goal was to get his hands on the couple's son and then get rid of Madelyne. The Inferno Saga. The revelation destroyed Madelyne. After years of being compared to Jean Grey, she discovers that she is a copy of the mutant. Frustrated with her whole story, Madelyne goes completely crazy and decides to free all the demons from Limbo on Earth once and for all. To do this, she demanded the sacrifice of her son Nathan, in addition to transforming Alex Summers, Scott's younger brother with whom she had an affair, into the Goblin Prince. Madelyne's ultimate plan included sacrificing 9 mutant babies in the Empire State Building and permanently invoking Limbo on Earth. To stop her, X-Men and X-Factor went after the Goblin Queen. At the top of the building, Jean and Madelyne find themselves in an intense confrontation. Tired of fighting, Madelyne decided to destroy everyone, including herself, with one last blast of power. Fortunately, the respective teams of mutants were able to protect themselves, but Madelyne was on the brink of death. During a last attempt to kill Jean, the fragment of the Phoenix that existed in her body left her and entered the X-Men, putting an abrupt end to Madelyne's life. Resurrection. Just like Jean Grey, Madelyne Pryor would find herself resurfacing several times over the years. In the 2000s, for example, the character resurfaced as the Red Queen in Hellfire Club. She would later head a brotherhood of mutants. Among these stories, Madelyne even created a curious bond with Nate Gray, the Earth-295 version of her son. In this universe, the mutant never became infected with the techno-organic virus, in addition to being created in the laboratory by Sinister. At one point, the two became romantically involved. At the Avengers vs. X-Men, Sinister even created several clones of Madelyne with the aim of attracting the Phoenix Force of the Five Phoenixes, formed by Cyclops, Colossus, Emma Frost, Magik and Namor, into the mutant's body. Last known appearance. Madelyne Pryor had a relevant role in the era of Krakoa of Mutants, but it was in Dark Web that the character made her last appearance in the comic book universe. In it, the villain joined forces with Chasm, also known as Ben Reilly, Spider-Man's clone. At the time, Madelyne released Limbo's forces in Manhattan, making Webhead need to work alongside the X-Men. At a certain point, Jean realized what Madelyne wanted and gave herself up. Madelyne admitted that all she wanted were memories of Nathan, her son with Scott. So, to heal that part of the villainess, Jean gave these memories freely. Moved by this gesture, Madelyne called off the attack on New York City and captured Chasm, confining him to Limbo. Meanwhile, in a gesture of goodwill, the X-Men and the Krakoan government helped Madelyne establish an embassy from Limbo. Using her position as ambassador, Madelyne sought to offer refuge to the rejected. Madelyne Pryor's powers and abilities. At first, Madelyne Pryor appeared as just an ordinary human, but, throughout the stories, it was realized that the character had some latent telekinetic powers. It was only later that her abilities were fully released. In addition to being able to perform telekinesis and telepathy, Madelyne can modify reality to a certain level, steal the psychic abilities of other mutants, in addition to having great magical knowledge. Among some abilities generated by these powers, we have psionic shield, mind control, telepathic illusions, mental paralysis, mind transfer, astral projection and pain induction. Adaptations. Madelyne Pryor's first adaptation to other media was X-Men '97. Before that, the mutant was briefly referenced in Deadpool 2 with an ice cream truck called Pryor's Treats. In addition, we have a short appearance of the character's appearance among the available skins in the game Marvel, Ultimate Alliance. Finally, Madelyne appears as a villain in one of the stories in the mobile game X-Men, Battle of the Atom. Subscribe to the channel and like the video for more content like this. Take the opportunity to suggest the theme for the next video below in the comments. See you in the next video.